What's up? How are you?
Long time no see.
I know it has been. How many years has it been?
Oh, couple. Dude, let
Oh,
me since 2020, early 2023, I think.
yeah, yeah, man. So tell
Dude,
me about
for
your
about 2
story.
years.
Tell me what happened after we separated.
Oh, a lot, dude. Like I went to several different prisons because I kept getting bogus write-ups and I would end up beating them on appeal with the regional office, but the appeal process takes months and months. So I would go either like I went one time 8 months with no visits and 2 months in the hole and end up beating that shot and it got totally expunged. And then that happened like three more times. One of the times I was in the shoe, they took away my visits for a shot that I got expunged. It was completely bullshit.
That's
But
crazy.
that's when my grandfather died, dude. And like that's what I'm gonna bring up in court is hey, I missed the death of my grandfather because these people in prison were hating on us, you
Yeah,
know? Or like I could have got a visit from them. I could have got my dad could have at least come to see me. I'm not thinking I would have made the funeral, but I could have at least mourned with my family properly.
right. Yeah,
But
100%, man. I know, like, I had a similar situation. I got a shot last year in like January, a phone shot. They caught me with a phone, and it took them 8 months. In August, I finally had my DHO hearing, and I
yeah.
literally had halfway house like 3 weeks before I got my phone shot, and they took away my halfway house, and they were like, "You don't get halfway house until you go through DHO." It took them 8 months for me to get DHO. I was there an
Well,
extra like 6, 7 months longer than I was supposed to,
wow.
and then
Bro,
it
I
got
wish
expunged, and then I beat the shot. Then I beat the shot.
listen to this, and dude. We could probably talk about this for hours alone, but just this all this prison bullshit. But I remember one time I was in the hole, and what was it? I think they said they I think okay they gave me a breathalyzer twice, and I passed. They
Mhm.
leave the room, come back with another breathalyzer, and this is while I'm in that like phone booth size cage. They come back with the breathalyzer a third time, and this time I blow a .07 somehow, and I hadn't been drinking. I know they like put hand sanitizer on it or some shit, but dude, they were
Right.
dirty, man.
Oh
The
yeah.
way that some of us got treated in prison was pretty rough. It just Fort Dix especially was liberal, so they really fucked with me there until I finally got transferred out. Hey, I wanted, you know what jail story I was talking about with James Grant earlier?
Which one?
Remember when that guy caught me up at night and he goes, "Sir, this is the third time I've caught you out of bed. What's your name?" And I'm like, Sandlin, Ronnie Sandlin. Like, obvious as shit that it wasn't my name. But the next morning they woke up and they called you to the CO called you up and you thought you were going to the honor pod, but they took
Yeah.
you to the hole. And then I remember I saw you when we both got transferred on the same day, and I'm like, "Oh, Ronnie, how are you?" You're like, "You motherfucker! I've been in the hole for 8 days." Yeah, that was awesome, bro. Like looking back, you gotta admit that's a funny story.
That is funny. At the time, I was pissed, dude.
I
I
know.
was pissed, bro. I was like, "Oh no, dude!" I was the
Yeah.
shoe, dude. The shoe there sucked, bro.
Oh, dude.
Northern Neck shoe is trash, dude.
Yeah. That one
Super
literally made
trash.
me go nuts. Like
Yeah,
in there. That was real isolation, dude. That shit sucked. Cause you didn't even have many other people in the hole at the time, or the hole was so big, like you couldn't talk to other people.
yeah, yeah. It's that whole that shoe was one of the roughest shoe. Like I was only in there for 8 days in that particular. But I'm a shoe connoisseur. I'd like to. I've been to this whole the shoe, whatever you want to call it, at every institution I ever went to, every
Yeah.
single jail,
Every
detention
federal
center.
prison I did. I
Yeah,
did every
I did
federal
time in the
prison.
shoe. Yeah, like I'm a shoe connoisseur. I know the best shoes and the worst shoes,
I've
and
done
that
like
one was the
six
worst.
months.
Yeah,
I've done like 6 months total in the shoe in the federal prison. And yeah, dude, it can kind of make you go crazy. But it also was a time where I got huge into the Bible because I had nothing else to read. So I got really big into the Bible during that time. So
Yeah, 100%.
So I
Yeah,
had some
there's
ups and downs.
yeah, absolutely. I
Dude,
mean,
earlier we were talking about my stroke, and just so I can give everybody an update, thanks for being so generous and coming to my Gifts and Go and helping me. Update is I'm obviously not in the hospital anymore. I've always been able to move my right arm and my right leg, but the problem is I just don't have feeling in them. It's like numb. So, and they said that was a result of a stroke and the blood clots in my brain, but the clots are gone. I'm on a blood thinner, and I have to do like a little bit of rehab. That'll help me get my feeling back, but I'll be okay.
so
And
what caused it, man? How did this start? What do you, was it stress of getting out of prison?
no, I think honestly, like I had other instances where like my right side of my body used to get tingly, and this one all the way back to 2017. I think I just was like using too much caffeine, not eating a good diet, and stuff like or energy drinks and shit like that. So like now I'm just gonna basically eat like a paleo diet and only drink coffee rather than energy drinks now. So, but that's it. Some people speculated and asked me a lot about the vaccine, and I'll admit I got vaccinated. I got it when it first came out, like when Trump was like pro-vaccine, or like, he was the one who like was pushing for it. So, and he got it himself.
Yeah, it
So I
was
was like,
Trump's
all right,
vaccine, right? It was Trump's vaccine, remember?
there really was. And I mean, if something's wrong with it, I don't blame him. I would blame the drug manufacturers. He was just trying to get our economy opened up and wanted the fear to leave. So he pushed the vax and wanted just so we could get back out and back to regular life. But it's not his fault if the manufacturers were selfish and fucking didn't make it right. I mean, I don't blame him at all. And I don't think this issue with me is necessarily because of the vaccine. I mean, maybe the vaccine made it worse. I don't know,
Right.
but I mean, I'm just not
Interesting.
like,
Yeah. I mean, I think there certainly was probably some element of stress, and the stress in your life of being incarcerated that probably drove up your blood pressure and,
yeah.
you know what I mean? So I wouldn't discount that as part of the
Well,
condition.
I've also compared to how I was living prior to January 6th and shortly after it, like my life is more stressful. Like I don't have nearly as much money as I used to, and don't have the same kind of job opportunity. I was in the roofing sales, and like after I got back, I'm not saying this caused my stroke or anything, but it's a reason for stress. Is when I went to jail, I was doing really well as a roofing salesman, and then while I was in jail, there were 3 hurricanes. So had I not went to jail, I'd have been had so much success in sales and stuff. I would have been set for a while. But because I missed all 3 of them, most people got their roofs done in Florida at one of those 3 hurricanes, and so there's not a big market for new roofs down there right now. It's not like it used to be, and I guess that caused me a little stress financially because the honey hole I had was gone. You know.
Yeah. Are you still doing the roofing sales, or is that still something that you're doing? What are the opportunities you're
Um,
looking at now?
well, I'm gonna probably at least do it part time. Um, I have to get go through some rehab, and I haven't got it scheduled yet. But I probably won't be able to work full time for at least a month or two.
Okay, so you guys, where can you find your gifts and go? And Universe Gym, I'll answer that. Well, I'll get to that in a second. So hold tight. Where can they find your gifts and go at if they wanted to?
I I'm pretty sure I can double check real quick, but I'm pretty sure it's just / Gardner Stroke or Mitchell Stroke. I just made
Okay.
it really.
All right. Well, let's look that up right now. And in the meantime, let's see. Well,
I'll look
you
it up.
have the
I'll
link.
look it up for
You
you.
put the link up. You tell us what the link is. In the meantime, we have a question from Universe Gym too. Do you regret the protest? Also, what are your thoughts on Trump's actions in the new term? So,
Yeah, I think Trump's kicking ass in the new term. That's
what's
my
that?
thought.
Yeah, I think.
Trump's kicking so much ass that like I don't even watch the news as much anymore, and not nearly as much as I used to.
Yeah, I don't really watch the news too much at all anymore. At all, actually.
Well, Trump's got
Yeah.
everything under control, so we don't have to. We don't have to worry about things constantly being fucked up. So that's why I
Yeah.
mean, Watch. It's kind of like when the Patriots were undefeated. Like watching the same team win every year is like gets boring. So like I just don't watch the news as much anymore because we're winning so much.
Yeah. I definitely I kind of have a little different of opinion. I don't think we can rely on one person. I think that this is a longer fight that's going to take probably another decade or even longer to root out
Yeah,
how
dude, I
bad
agree.
things are. Yeah.
The MAGA movement has to go on past Trump, or these last, or when he leaves, his 8 years in office will have been pointless if the MAGA movement doesn't continue after. So we
Right.
have to like start looking at the next guys. Like, is JD Vance going to be our guy? Is the guy from Montana, that governor, going to be the guy? I don't know. I know there will never be another Trump himself as a person, but hopefully somebody with similar values and like a similar mindset precedes him.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely a once in a generation leader for sure. Uh and he's definitely, I mean, he's a phenomenon. And but I just think that there's such systemic corruption and in all of, I would say, the whole government, but I think it's deeper than that. Even like, I think we have to start questioning what government is itself, and we've been told that government is necessary part of modern society, but it seems like no matter what government we're talking about, it always leads to one outcome, which is corruption.
Yeah,
So how good of it is it really a benefit to society when it always leads to just systemic corruption that robs from its own people that it claims to serve?
well, I think that was like kind of the intention when the founders came up with our form of government, was to make it as like to be a society where we don't rely on the government. It's just there as a protection in case we go to war, or to
Right.
solve disputes or contract disputes and stuff like that. I don't think we were ever supposed to be so having the government involved in every aspect of our life like we do today.
Yeah,
So,
it's
and I don't know if
well
those
that's
times
well
will ever
that's
come back, dude. I don't know if things are just too far gone, or maybe there's more dangers in the world we live in today, and it would be difficult to have like a ungoverned society just because of what people are so capable of doing now to each other. I don't know.
yeah,
I'm not the right person to ask. I'm not like
yeah,
a philosophical expert or anything like that. I just know Trump's the best president I've seen in my lifetime, as far as how he cares and actually does stuff for us rather than the elites so
right.
much.
Right, and that's a good point as well. I mean, the interesting thing is the way that the founding fathers set up the framework of our government. To be a republic, it took less than 20 years for them to the same people. Look at Alexander Hamilton with the Federalist Papers. It took
Yeah.
really less than a decade for them to turn their backs on that ideal, and so we
Yeah.
never really had that to begin with. We had empty promises that didn't even last a generation.
Well, dude, I think like every human being is susceptible to, and it's maybe one of those maybe it's one of those lessons they learned as men. Maybe they started out with these grand ideals in the beginning of total lax freedom and stuff, but maybe as they continued on, they matured a little bit and realized, well, hey, this is why you need some government in some places or in some situations, because society can probably get out of fucking control. Like, I'm not saying government is the answer to our problems in the world, but I can't imagine this society today that we have. Like, that's one thing the founders talk about a lot, or people, smart, scholars talk about, is the world our founding fathers were living in was a more Christian moral society to begin with. So they didn't need as much government. But we live in a society where there's so much freedom as far as like how you can act and how you can behave, that it's like you couldn't have total freedom in this world, or the people today would fucking abuse that to a crazy extent.
Yeah, yeah.
We're
No,
a different
these
people
are, yeah,
morally.
these are definitely. these philosophical questions that we need to start answering and start figuring out. And I think part of it is like we have such a pervasive system of government and world control that it's like we've never allowed like a group of people to like just be totally free. We've never in history have allowed the human man to actually have 100% self sovereignty, and so we don't
The-
even know if it would work. We just all
but
we
the
know is
thing is,
systems
dude,
of control.
it's just like the thing with gun ownership. 99% of people who own guns will use them properly and they'll protect themselves with them and use them when the time is right. But because of that 1% of people who can't be trusted, like we have to have laws. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if that applies like in every in every facet of life, the sort of the gun idea, but um I just don't know. Like if we had total freedom 100%, like in right now's day and age with this group of human beings on the planet, would this group of human beings handle like complete freedom? Like probably most people would. Most normal people who just want to survive and improve their family and take care of their family, 90% of people probably would be fine, but you'll have those 5 or 10% who are fucking nuts and just ruin it for everybody. That's what
Right.
I think. Like that's a common human. That's like a human condition, or the human theme of
Well, it's
life is
also
like,
it's like the same as saying, like having a government that actually serves its people. It sounds in theory fine, but there's just a percentage of people that are going to ruin it for everybody else and take over the government and use it as a system of control and enslavement to enrich themselves and their families at the expense of the people they claim to serve. I mean, it's
yeah,
like the same thing. It's just like either way, you either get a system of control controlled by corrupt people, or you get a system where a few bad apples can ruin the fucking thing. So where's the balance there? It's like at both sides there seems to be just a group of fuckheads that fuck it up for everybody.
I kind of just think that's the theme of humanity itself.
Yeah, that's a good
You
point.
fuck up, the squeaky wheel always gets the grease, as they say,
Right.
and and that's why Trump Republicans and conservative people are the silent majority because most people just go throughout life and live it and focus on themselves. And we've now got this Trump movement because enough of us woke up and said, well, we got to get involved in politics or our world's going to go to shit. So, like, that's kind of where we're at now is I think people are waking up and realizing if we're not involved at all, then it's not going to be okay.
Yeah, and it just goes back to like you and I. Like you and I are very different people, but we showed up on January 6th because we both. I mean, I definitely think a lot differently than I did on January 6th about government and my place in government and all that. But at the time, I think both of us showed us because we truly believed that our voices were going to be heard and our voices mattered. Do you still
Yeah.
believe that?
That's a complex question because like I've always felt like, you know, before Trump especially, I felt like, we the people weren't listened to anymore and we had no ability to affect what was happening in the world really. But the more Donald Trump's has been in power, like I think people are waking up to the idea that, if we're involved, we'll do a lot better. And I don't know. It's an age old question.
Right, right,
Get involved or not.
right. Yeah, it's really interesting. And then how different of a person are you now than you were the day of January 6th?
Oh, like I'm not even nearly the same person. Just from my experience with prison, and I think I'm a lot more. I think I had to grow up a lot. I mean, I was doing well financially, and I had a house and stuff like that. But there's just things that you learn in prison that you can't learn in regular life. And there's
Right.
things and it's just like a big, if you ever like the people watch, like go to the mall and look at all how people interact and behave. Well, prison is an insane level of like people watching and insanely tribal. So like, you get to see like man and human beings at their most almost go back to their primal ways in prison. Like, and the reason things have to be, I don't know. It's one thing I realized is the reason, like, take something simple like why do people sit at the same tables in prison, or why does this group sit with that group? It's like you would look at that as an outsider and say, well, that's just ignorance and they're just doing that because of race. It's really not. It's honestly, in prison, it's more of a thing about, like, I don't know, it's just a really primal thing. And you stay with your people in there, but the thing is you can have best friends who are black, best friends who are Hispanic, talk to each other and hang out all day, but you sit in a separate table when you go to the lunchroom. And like, I don't know where I'm trying to go with that, except for I had one view of that when I went in. I thought that was just ignorance. But when I left, I started to look at that as like, humans, when we're all in that bad situation, we come back down to some general agreements about things. And they're like, hey, you stay with your people and you people have each other's backs in this situation. And it's hard to explain, but going to prison, I don't regret it now because I grew up because of it. I think I became more of a man because of it. Just like seeing the different kinds of people that were in the world and interacting with them and getting to know them.
All right.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not
it's
nearly
interesting.
the same person to answer your question.
Yeah, no, it's interesting you say that because did you watch the live stream with that we had with Jake yesterday?
Part of it, I saw like the little highlight where he was saying about the plea deal stuff, but I didn't
Okay,
really watch
so he
the whole
dropped the N bomb several times,
thing.
and
Okay.
it's a it's a big. And he called another January 6th the N word, right? Hard R, hard R,
Yeah.
and so like I woke up today and I was inspired by it. Do I agree with him? No, I don't agree with him. I think he was an idiot for saying it, and I think he has racist views. But he's my brother, and I grew up I woke up so inspired today. I was like, you know what? That's a man being his authentic self. He's not like telling the world he's one thing and then really secretly he's another. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think there's so
Yeah.
many people that are like, they're too afraid to show the world who they really are. And they act one way in so called private and another
Mhm.
way in so called public. And they
Well,
don't want, and they're too ashamed to share their pride, or they're too scared to. They're scared of what they will lose.
and do you think that's what's going on when you see, Jake on Facebook and stuff?
Well,
Or
dude,
do you
I'm
think
refreshed by it.
part
Here's
of,
a man that's just like, I'm going to say it like it is. I don't care what I lose or gain because I'm going to stand on my own 2 feet. I'm not doing this for my comfort or your comfort. If you don't like it, don't listen. If you like it, you're going to like what I say. And it is what it
yeah,
is. And I'm not going to apologize or change who I am or pretend to be someone I'm not just because of your comfort or because of your standards or because you're afraid to lose something. Like when you and we lost everything. We already, to me, I'm like, I know what it feels like to lose absolutely nothing. Come on, motherfucker, let's go. Come to my level. Let's
yeah,
fucking roll, dude. You want to know what it feels like to lose everything and then to rebuild? Get on my level. But
yeah,
until you're willing to do that and fucking really go all in and say, this is who I am, this is what I stand up for. That's why I respect all the January Sixers. We went all in, we put it all on the line that day, and we suffered, man. We suffered. But you know what?
yeah,
After you go through an experience like that and come out of it, and I kind of take an assessment of the world, I'm like, you know what? Rather be that dude. I'd rather be the dude willing to be authentically myself and be a man of like fucking standing on my own 2 feet wherever the fucking cards may fall than the people that are too afraid and live in silence and live in fear and live in shame. And
no
so,
doubt.
yeah. And so he's saying the N word. But then I got me thinking, man, just like you said in prison, bro, there's reasons why races are separated in prison. And we're all in prison. You're our authentic self. Like there ain't no hiding in prison. You're who you are in prison. If you're a bitch, you're a bitch in prison.
Yeah,
If you're a bad motherfucker, you're a bad motherfucker. And there ain't no pretending you're a bad motherfucker. You either are or you're
yeah,
not, dude. And so like, well, I know my rep. because I'm a paisa, which is a Mexican prison gang. He was like, you need to stop hanging out with the blacks. You need to stop hanging out with them. And he warned me. He says, that's going to be your downfall, Ronnie. You hanging out with them, not hanging out with your own people. That's going to fuck you up. And he was
Yeah.
absolutely right. I ended up getting jumped by my own people, by the way, not because they wanted to, but because I had a bad confrontation with the blacks, and they were forced in their position. I would
They
have done
had
the
to
same
take
thing in their
care of you.
shoes.
It's better that they took care of you than the blacks, because
100%. They didn't stab
that's
me
why
up. They could
they
have stabbed me
actually,
up. They jumped
to
me. My own people
people.
jumped me. But like, if they really wanted me, if they really had animosity, they would have just stabbed me up. They fucked me up. They kicked me in my own brothers, my own people. But they showed me mercy that the other race wouldn't have shown me. I would have gotten stabbed up by those other motherfuckers.
Yeah, well, I mean, they had to do that to show that they were taking the thing
Right. And I'm
seriously.
not even mad, bro. I did the same thing in their position. There were times where
Yeah.
I had to stomp out my own friend, my own best friend. I'm like, you fucked up, bro. You knew the fucking rules. You fucked up. And if I had to choose between me or you, I'm gonna choose me, motherfucker, as I'm stomping him. And he knew what was up. He knew the fucking deal. He knew what time it was. And that's just what it is. That's why I can't even be mad. And that's why I'm not mad at Jake when he makes these statements. You know?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Jake has the freedom of speech and he can say whatever he wants. I mean, my personal philosophy on, like, the N word has always been, hey, I'm not black, and if some black people find that offensive, I just won't say it.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
like, I don't, not that's not me like being afraid to say it. That's just out of respect for some
Right.
people who might take it
Yeah,
that
I don't
way.
really have a need to say it. Have I said it before? Yeah, I've said the N word before. Hard
I
R. I
think with
have.
Jake,
You
I
know.
think with what Jake's doing is more of like a stand, or like a kind of, so like, what I've noticed in our society today is that there's a lot of white people who are, we have taken people that used to be treated poorly and started like overly trying to make up for it so much that we've created like the reverse problem. Like, we've turned the minorities into some of the most hateful racist people there are, because, and I just think I like when Martin Luther King, the dream speech was, is we shouldn't see color and we should be a colorblind society, and you should, when you become friends with somebody, you don't judge them on what color they are. You judge them on if they have respect, if they're a good man,
The
if
blacks loved you. The blacks loved you in prison, though. In jail, at least jail, they did. That was funny.
I just think they would like anyone who just act, I just my in prison I just try to be respectful to
Dude,
anyone who,
I remember like
everyone.
you going up there and just like you were dancing with them. Like I don't know, it was some song you're like
Yeah.
it was
Well,
fucking, but you were on a
oh, I
wild
remember.
one.
Yeah, like I would go up because like there would be a few guys who hung out by the TVs in Northern Neck, and they would
Yeah,
like just dance. But so I
yeah.
just went up there because I would get bored and I'd want to do the same thing. But yeah, like, I don't. If we were in a different place, it could have been a whole different story. Like, you want to, if we were in a medium or a pin, like that shit kind of can't go on. But
Right, right,
where we were at, it was safe to talk to people of other races. And no,
right,
but
right,
like,
right.
my whole thing is this: modern liberals today, they are not, their goal isn't to be a colorblind society. Their goal is to divide us as much as they can and make us focus on our differences more than anything. Oh, a Hispanic person, so you're in this group, and you have to hate these kind of people and be offended by this, and vice versa.
Right.
And it's like, one thing I don't like. One thing I find weird about the modern time is it's like it's almost okay to be racist towards white people. Like, we're making it up or something. Like we're paying back for something that like we never experienced. It's just, I find crazy. Like, there's really no point in modern times for like true racism to even exist. Like, it's just, I don't see the point of it. But
Yeah,
for
well,
whatever,
it's interesting you're saying that, but there is clear, since I've been out, there's clear race boundaries now that like I see more white people willing to say, nah, we ain't like whites.
but I think
And
that what that is it's it's actions and reactions back and
It's
forth.
actions and reactions. It's the left acting a certain way, and they're like, "All right, you want to act that way?
That's their
No
goal.
blacks around here. Then we're going to act that way now too."
Their goal is for whites and blacks to not like each other. That's perfect
Right,
for them.
right. Divide and
That's
conquer.
exactly how
Divide
they
and
need
conquer.
things to
Yeah,
be for them to be successful.
right.
They need one group of people to feel hated and like a victim, and that's how a lot of politicians work. They try to make you feel like a victim and that you need them to solve your problems. So that just works for the Democratic Party. I mean, that's just been they've always been the party that says they're for the blacks, but I mean, and you go to places where Democrats have been in power for most of the time, then you'll see they're not voting for them. I don't understand it. I just don't.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's the divide and conquer agenda. And I think, what they really don't want is a unified front. They don't want the left and the right or whatever that even means. Like, what does that even mean? Like, I would consider myself a liberal. Like, I don't care if you're a tranny, a granny, a lady boy, a she male, a she he, a they them, an it are, whatever. I don't care. Chop your dick off. Do your thing. I don't care. Just don't teach it to the kids. If you want to chop, and you know what? If you and your kid want to chop, if you want to chop your kid's dick off, yeah, you have at it, dude. To be honest, it's probably better. It's probably better that you guys you do that. So I'm like,
Dude,
dude,
you know what's funny?
let him
You know
live,
what's
dude.
funny is I
Huh?
won't say his name, but I knew a guy in prison who said something once that like actually made a lot of sense and like it sounds terrible, but it's true. Is like, hey, let abortion be legal because mostly the people who are do it are fucking
Blacks.
liberals. So they're
It's the black.
killing
It's the liberals and the blacks. Well, if you look at like the woman who founded Planned
yeah,
Parenthood,
she was a racist.
she
She
was a
hated
racist.
blacks.
Yeah, she
Dude,
hated the blacks. That was why she did
I
it,
was
was
in
for genocide. Yeah.
one time I was in an argument with a girl online and she happened to be a black girl. And I was talking. She said it was a debate about abortion, and I said, like if you want to save black lives, if black lives matter, then I would start with abortion because that takes more black lives than any other thing in the world. And like, and I even explained just what you just said that Margaret Sanger was a racist. She
Right.
hated blacks, and that's why she made
Yeah.
that place.
Right.
But the same girl I was debating with said, well, we can overlook that. She made a mistake back then, but it ended up being a good thing for everybody that we can abort our children. I'm like,
Well,
what?
yeah. I mean, I guess. I
It
mean,
does-
I know that there's a correlation between abortions and lowering of crime rate.
What I don't get this is if you don't want Aunt Jemima to be on a syrup bottle because you think it's disrespectful towards blacks, but you're okay with Margaret Sanger making the Planned Parenthood to kill blacks and prevent them from existing, how can you forgive that? Like that'd be the first thing I'd stay away from is
100%.
somebody who was all about killing whites.
But like, look, I obviously the whole liberal leftist ideology, it's dead, dude. Honestly, we
Yeah,
beat it.
the
The culture
old
war, we
fashioned
beat
kind of
them.
is
Their
like the
ideas did
Kennedy.
not hold up in the marketplace of ideas, you know. And so I'm not threatened by them. I don't care about them. But what I do care about is seeing people unify and say, you know what? All these little things, all these little ideologies, it's all BS. We really need to look at the real enemy. And we need to identify the real enemy. And the real enemy ain't you or I versus you or I. It ain't left versus right. The real enemy is the people that benefit from keeping a divided nation, and
Yeah.
why do they benefit, and who are those people? Those are the real enemy that we need to go after. And when we're fighting amongst ourselves, we're not focused on the real enemy.
Well, like the word liberal has changed its meanings over the years, just like everything else has. But I mean, you look at like John F. Kennedy, like I respect that guy. Like I look back at his presidency and I'm like, by today's standards, he might be like a conservative or a
Oh,
Republican.
100%.
But
Yeah.
dude, if you
Well,
look at
yeah.
Donald Trump, if you take Donald Trump and compare him to what a real conservative is, he's not conservative at all.
No.
He's just
No.
very middle of the road. He's
100%.
just he's
Well, he
he's
was a
not, and that's
Democrat.
why the Republican Party is dead too, because he totally reformed the Republican Party based on his ideology. And his ideology is very middle of the road. Believe it or not. I know they like to label as I'm a right wing extremist and all this shit, but like he's really not right wing at all. If you look at his past and even his present, like economic policies, there's nothing that's like traditional Republican about him.
Not at all. And if you look at the people like, Robert F. Kennedy, he was obviously from a Democrat family. If
Yeah.
you look at Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat turned Republican, yeah, it really is.
Well,
Well, the
dude,
problem,
like the
yeah,
thing is real liberals don't have a choice. Like the best example I've seen of this was the lady who there was a lady. Do you remember the show The Biggest Loser? The show where they were all fat and they won by losing the most weight. Whoever lost the most weight won, and there was two professional trainers. One of them was named Jillian Michaels, and by all standards, she's a Democrat. Liberal. She's a lesbian. She's a person of color, blah, blah, blah. But even she has said, like, dude, I have to vote for Trump now because you guys went so fucking insane. There's no choice. Jillian Michaels, she's been on Fox News because of this. Like,
yeah,
she's a modern conservative or a modern Republican. Like,
right,
like a lot
right,
of us
right,
have. Like,
right.
I
Well,
just
I
don't
grew up
get
in
if
Long
you're a
Beach. Yeah,
rational human being, what choice is there when it comes to voting? Like you're okay. How can you ever allow yourself to vote for people who are okay with rationalizing boys playing girls sports or treating transgenderism like it's a real disease and like those people they're just insane people. They need mental help is what they need.
I,
But they just decided we're not going to tell them they're crazy. We're just all going to play along. And that's like the Democratic Party's stance. And they want to make them into a group like the gays or the blacks that need the Democrats to survive. So it's just insane, dude. They don't care. And the funny thing is, they don't care about those people anyway. They just want their votes.
right, 100%. And well, they're like, again, they lost, we won in the marketplace of ideas. Their ideas lost tremendously.
Well, you know what's
We,
crazy? Now they're doubling down. I thought
yeah.
that after Trump won like this and won every swing state, they were going to have like a period of rebranding and like lighten up a little bit on the left. But dude, it's like they're doubling down. It's insane.
Well, for some of them, they have nowhere to go but to doubling down. When you have
That's
made
true.
your whole identity and like wrapped yourself around identity politics, and that is your own, that is everything that you built your life on, and your self-worth is based off of, which is a lot of these people. Like, they have nowhere to go but to double down.
Right. You're right.
Because
That's who they
if
are.
not, they have to confront the
Like,
reality of their identity and who they thought they were and who they constructed. This ego they constructed themselves is wrong and has led people down a dangerously wrong path. And that is
yeah.
just too painful for most of these people to ever have those types of realizations.
Right, and that's definitely true because you look at because their way of handling changing their ideas is just to ignore as if they ever change. Like look at I show people all the time, dude. Take anything that people criticize Trump for, like being tough on the border and blah blah blah. You can find where being cool with Vladimir Putin, the things how they said he's Putin's best friend and blah blah blah. You can look through the past of either uh, Clinton or Obama. Basically, they were all for the same shit.
Oh yeah.
Clinton
What?
has had a tight relationship with Putin in the past. Obama
Right.
has been tough on border security and wanted
100%.
deportation. And now they just act like that's see, this is the dude. This is what I told my friend the other day. You know how I know I'm not the one who's brainwashed? Is because my values haven't changed.
Right.
Theirs have. They changed.
100%.
That's how you know you're
100%.
the brainwashed ones.
Well, 100%. I grew up in Long Beach in California, very liberal, very like ultra leftist, very hippie, so-called hippie, and like drum circles and woke gay leftist ideology. And I was all about it for many years. And but I also was very anti-government. And so I would stand side by side because I thought that was the side that was anti-government. Then all of a sudden, I'm still anti-government. I still believe the same things, but all of a sudden, these same people that were used to protest, Occupy Wall Street, they're now like mad that we are anti-government as well, and we went into the Capitol and said "fuck this." I'm
Yeah,
like,
that makes no sense.
I didn't change. I thought you were anti-government too.
Yeah, because
But now they're defending the government.
so here's the thing about me, and I've always been honest with this, because and the reason I'm honest about it is because I want other people to have the same experience. I grew up in a house where my stepdad was liberal, and my mom really didn't care about politics, but I watched MSNBC mostly, and that's why I voted for Obama when I was a kid. My first
Right. Me
election, I
too.
voted for
Yeah, me
Obama
too. Yeah.
because that's all I saw, and I thought that was the news, and I didn't even know that was biased because that's just what I grew up watching. But as time goes on, I've kind of realized, I don't know. I was misinformed about things. And when I got to see the other side of the argument, I tended to agree with the more conservative because I've always been a constitutionalist. Like, I think I'm for the Constitution. Like, I think the Constitution is perfect. It's like, it gives you like your rights as a person and allows other people to have their rights too, as long as you never impose on each other's rights. You're allowed to do anything as long as it doesn't impose on the rights of another. I'm basically a libertarian,
Right.
but like that's changed over time.
Yeah.
And like,
Well, it's interesting you say that. So, like, I think I used to identify as a libertarian, but the libertarians, I think, are so weak. They're so weak. And I now identify as a anarcho-capitalist. And you should really, I'll send you some books. Like you should, like they're cheap. I'll get you the used ones, like $3, but you should read them, Todd. And like anarcho-capitalism is basically saying their thing is all forms of government are corrupt, and therefore, by definition, government is corrupt, and that we're being told we need government as a necessary pillar of society, but only because the government controls the education and has indoctrinated us into that idea. And they
well,
give many examples of how we not only do not need government, but the very thing government says that it is supposed to be a benefit to society, it actually does a terrible job at. And the free market enterprise, the capitalist system, always does a better job every single
see,
time.
that's the thing. That's the thing to keep in mind, though, is what economy or what capitalist economy can survive if there's no one to enforce contracts.
Well, it's interesting. It's right. It's We have it already. We have
See, like there's things that
arbitration. We have
are a great
arbitration. No, but we have
idea.
it. We already have
There's
it.
a
We have arbitration courts that are they're free mar in arbitration arbiters. We already have like privatized court systems called arbitration that does enforce contracts.
Well, I guess that's the whole thing is like, people sometimes make communism sound like a great world, but the thing is it's different between being practical. Like,
Right.
ideally, it would be great if we all had every freedom we wanted. But like I was saying earlier, you always have that 10% of shitheads who like force us to make some like basic agreements. Like, okay, you're not allowed to kill other people. Obviously, we have to make that a thing.
Right.
Like I don't
Well,
know.
right. Well, that's the thing. It's like, you kill somebody, and let's say we don't have a government to enforce the rules. Well, you let's say you had a private security forces. It's just like an insurance. So you pay like an insurance company, and part of the insurance or membership is you get a private security or you get private, a private police force. And if there is a big enough grievance and you killed somebody, it wouldn't be that big of a stretch to say, well, based off our bylaws and our insurance policy, that person murdered you. We can prove it without reason of a doubt. Therefore, our security force will go in and assassinate that person.
Well, I think like the thing is like what you're talking about is kind of how it is supposed to be, except for the idea that we're all paying these private security forces. It's kind of like that's how it's supposed to be. We're all paying one
Right,
big security force to like protect everybody, but it gets diluted down by politics, you
right,
know?
right. Yeah, it's definitely and that's what goes back to it. Like government take no matter what form of like capitalism, communism, monarchism, libertarianism, any of the isms, they always get co-opted by a group of shitheads that use that particular philosophy or ideology as a vehicle to then take and rob from the people that it claims to serve. So it's to me, it's like government is the problem, not the solution to any of the
Yeah,
problems.
but think about what you just said. Is the idea of the government the problem, or is it human nature that corrupts people in time? Like there's people who start out with all the best intentions, but once they're in a position where they get offered money, then they're like, dude, in my old job, like money is really a thing that some people just can't handle. Because in my old job, I used to meet so many customers who are like, hey, if you could help us get our insurance to pay for a new roof, we would be so grateful. And of course, your company can do the work and get paid whatever they pay. You guys can keep the money. We don't care. We just need a free roof. But what would happen is when they see that $40,000 check, the numbers mess with their head and they start thinking, well, if they could do it for 30, why couldn't I just keep that 10? And suddenly that gratitude they had in the beginning is gone because when you see dollar signs, some people just can't handle it, dude. Some people just can't. Like I've been broke and I've had money before, so like I'm pretty confident in my ability to stay uncorruptible. But like there's some people who I just don't think they are uncorruptible. Like money changes their mentality and they just can't handle money
A hundred
without
percent.
becoming a
But
shitty
I
person.
think that you make a good point. It's like corruption is not I say it this way: corruption and greed. It's not a bug of being a human. It's actually a feature, meaning that is actually a biological trait that helped us survive when we were still hunter gatherers on like
Yeah,
this in the savannah. But in
yeah.
modern world, it has translated itself into ways that are actually detrimental for a global society. And we are basically apes. We're naked apes in a modern world, and our brains have not evolved to the point to understand this complexity of the modern world. And
Right.
we need to understand that there are limitations, and one of them is human beings are corruptible, and so therefore we can never have a system of control that is controlled by human beings that are corruptible. And so we need to
Right,
come
but
up
that's
with
the
systems.
idea of our government is supposed to
Right,
be where so many humans are involved that no one human or
right.
no small group of humans should be able to have a great negative impact on the
Well,
whole
what it
society. But
is,
that
well, yeah.
doesn't happen.
Well, what it
But
is it worked. It that was the best way of doing it then. We have technology now with blockchain technology so that we
yeah,
can essentially get rid of the government and have a form of like an open source government. There's already like if you look at Linux and if you look at like Silicon Valley and what they're doing in tech, open source is everyone knows open source works. Like Wikipedia is open source. So open source works, meaning that we no longer have a hierarchical system of
but
control
see, that's the thing too, is there's actually corruption within Wikipedia.
because
There
it's
are
become more of a
groups.
closed system because it became a more hierarchical closed system. The systems that are the most
Same with
open,
like what was it? Reddit. Reddit has become corrupted where
well,
they
it's
like
because
got rid of the Don,
right.
shit like that.
It's because it's not because of the open source element of it. It's because they actually closed it back up and left and made, you know what I mean? But when you have a
Right.
truly
But
open
that
source
shows you right
system,
there. When you have an open system, there will always be that group of people who try to abuse it.
well, that's why you have to have it even more open. The more open it is,
Yeah.
and the more users buy onto that system,
Like
you basically make it impossible for an attack. It's not impossible, but much harder to do. But right now we have a hierarchical system of government that works in the shadows and makes decisions on our behalf that none of us even know about.
That's true.
And so, if I had to choose between the two, I'm going to choose the open source system. And so, with blockchain technology and open source philosophy and governance, we could have the society that overcomes limitations of corruption in our government by getting rid of government and stop thinking about it as government, but as governance. Like
Yeah.
governance is the foundations and framework of a society. Government is a hierarchical system of control that exploits the people it claims to benefit. Two different things. And we need to understand the difference between government and governance. And we need to understand that corruption is a feature, not a bug. And that human beings were all corruptible, including myself. I will admit it. And therefore, we need to, like, just like we can't fly, right? But yet every day we fly across the world because we've overcome our limitations as human beings through technology. And we can do the same
Yeah.
thing in government, but
Look,
it's
I
like, yeah,
like I agree with the philosophy, and I also agree with the idea that maybe we're a little outdated, just like how the way we do education is outdated. The and where there's always, yeah, of course, maybe it is time for a better idea. The problem is just like practicality. I always come back to practicality. Like, at least in this society, if I'm a person, I can choose like to be who I want to be as far as morally, and nothing really bad happens unless I get involved with others who call the cops. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird. It's a hard question.
yeah,
Like
no, it is.
how
It is a hard question, right? And it is like, and you're right. It's like you could
the
have like
implementation. That's the hard part. Is the implementation of something like that.
implementation, right? But I think we're at a precipice in our human civilization as modern society with internet and with the way we're able to communicate globally in a way that we're never were able to be able to do before our generation. Back in the 80s, 70s, 60s, there wasn't communication like there was today. We couldn't just hop on Instagram and contact pretty much anywhere in the anyone in the world instantaneously, right?
Right.
And so now we are in this new, and now we have AI, right? And so now we're at a point where human beings are really going to have to start making these decisions and saying, look, what we're doing now ain't working. This form of government that we have, it ain't working for anyone anymore.
Dude,
And we better
speaking of
start figuring out
AI,
new
I'm
ways of doing
terrified.
things. Huh?
I, I said, speaking of AI, like normally I'm an optimistic person and I'm not the guy who says, oh, this new technology is a bad thing. I'm not like, when everybody thought the TV was going to be a bad thing. But anyways, AI is one thing I do kind of have get a negative vibe from. Like, it's just that we've never had a time in history where human beings have not been the number one thing on this planet. And we're going to literally create something better than ourselves. I mean, that's something you almost can't reverse. Like, do you want to open that box and not be able to close it?
Right. Well, no, it's already open. There ain't no closing
Yeah,
Pandora's box at this point. AI is here. It ain't going nowhere.
I know. It pretty
And,
much is. And
and
because
it's
of the
like,
financial stuff, it's going to keep getting more and more evolved. It's not going backwards. It's only going to go forwards.
right. And so we're going to have to make some really tough decisions real quickly, because I think right now, there's AI supercomputers and scientists that are making this calculation on like the human, like human survival rate, and like when human society will and
Mhm.
civilization will collapse. I think something like we're sitting at a 40% possibility of human civilization lasting past 10 years.
I wouldn't doubt it. You know what else is crazy
Mhm.
though about AI is at some point AI will learn about things that we have no idea about yet. And it'll have knowledge that we have no idea about. And it'll get to a point where kind of like extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials are so far advanced than us, they don't really bother us cuz we're like beneath them. They like it's just I like the analogy of a human
You,
being and an anthill. When you walk past an anthill, you don't stop and interact with the ants and try to teach them how to build a better anthill. They're just nothing to you. So you just walk past. At some point, AI will be like that. Just how alien or extraterrestrials, some of them are towards us probably. We're just so beneath them that we're not worth their time.
The other thing, like my belief is AI is an ancient technology. AI's always been here. We're not inventing AI. We're literally just tapping into
Discovering it
something that's always been there.
like lightning.
Yeah, like we're not discovering this stuff. Like we didn't discover oxygen. We didn't discover space and the moon. Like it's just been. And so for us, like for me, I'm like, I just think we're tapping into something that's always been there already. And like I think the AI, the UFO phenomenon is likely has a lot to do with AI, and maybe AI from the future. Like again, there's like we have a crazy concept of time. We think it's linear, and time isn't
Yeah.
linear. Time is absolute. Like so, everything that has been, always will be, and ever has been has already been done and will continue being done. It's like a blob almost. And so, like the idea of time traveling for us, because we see things on a linear plane, it's hard for our brains to grasp that. But my thing is, I think that like a lot of the UFO phenomenon is AI from the future, from the past, from wherever you want to call it. It's they don't see time that way.
Mm. Yeah, I've had before AI was a thing, before I even had the concept of it. My idea of I thought aliens could possibly be the future inhabitants of Earth that are able to travel back and look at us. That's a cool concept. But I don't know. AI, I mean, again, like my whole precaution to that is the whole thing that makes me hesitant is we've always been the most dominant species on this planet. And if you're going to create something better than you, I don't know. I just think you should think about that twice.
Dude, wait till we combine AI with crocodiles.
Imagine when
Think about this. Think about it this way. Crocodiles are the oldest living thing on the planet. Okay? And
Mhm.
crocodiles are immortal. The only way crocodiles die is through disease or through like starvation.
Wow.
Yeah. Once a motherfucker starts mixing them AI with the crocodiles and start making super AI crocodiles, it's game over, dude. It's
But
game over, son. Game
dude,
over,
aren't
dude.
but haven't the AI already like passed the whole worrying about death thing?
Bro, at that point, it don't give a fuck. It's like, bro, let me put some AI
Why
in a
I'm saying is
crocodile. Let me see what happens.
why does it need to join an alligator to become immortal?
Crocodile.
It's already immortal.
Because why not, dude? It's like, bro, if you're immortal, don't you want to play some immortal game? Like, I don't know, dude. I've never been immortal. I don't know. I think I'd get bored and put AI in a crocodile and just like, let's see what happens. Let me put an AI in a crocodile. Let me see what just happens. And it was like, whoa, shit. Like, I don't know, bro. You know, maybe that's what the
Yeah,
reptilians are. Maybe that,
I
we'll
definitely.
talk about the reptilians. Maybe it's just the motherfucker was just fiddling around, decided to put an AI in a crocodile like creature. Next thing you know, boom, oh shit. Oh shit, we just created a race of crocodilians that are taking over the universe. I don't know the answer to these
Dude,
questions.
you're starting to make me think that the weed here in Ohio isn't nearly as good as the shit in Cali.
I'm in Vegas. I'm in Vegas, and
Oh,
it's likely accurate. But I'm broke, so like the weed I've been smoking is a very low caliber. Yeah, yeah. So
well, that's good.
yeah,
Yeah, it's true. Getting out of prison, we definitely have to be a lot more financially responsible. Not who
yeah,
we were
one hundred
before. At
percent.
least me. I can say for myself, I'm not who I was before prison as far as the money I earn. Dude, we're so lucky though that we have such a like group of supporters that appreciates what we do. Like I got lucky enough to be able to go to dinner in New York. This was a couple months ago, but I got invited to New York City to meet one of our Chinese MAGA supporters, and she brought a bunch of her Chinese friends, and we all went out to dinner.
Any
And they
cuties?
wanted, what's that?
Any cuties?
No, they were all older, but the point of the story, the point of the story is they were all like in their 60s, 70s, 80s.
Get yourself a sugar
And
mama.
Well, they look at us as like they see the Jan Sixers as like the guy who was at Tiananmen Square and stood in front of the tank. They compared it to that. That's what like these people. That's how they. That's why they're so supportive of us. And think about that. That's coming from someone who left a communist country to escape communism. They're comparing what they're seeing in our world today, but what happened in theirs. Except our society was smart enough to stand up for itself. We didn't, or I don't want to say smart enough. What should I say? Brave enough? I don't know. But I mean, we also haven't let it get to the point where there's tanks circling the streets either. Point
Right.
being, though,
Well, I think
is
on January 6th, we showed the resolve of the American people.
yeah,
If people
that
aren't
it
were
still
taking
exists.
note, like, yo,
Because I personally, I wasn't. Literally had a conversation with one of my friends asking if that kind of thing still existed. Before January 6th happened, like a month before, ominously, I said to one of my friends, I said, "Hey, man, I wonder what it would take for people in this country to actually stand up. What would the government have to do to oppress us, or what would they have to do wrong to make people stand up?" And we found out that it was rig an election. That's all it took for us.
right. And, right, correct. And that was an unplanned event. None of us had any intentions of anything like that happening. And, that's why their thing is surveilling the American public to make sure that never happens again. And so they can keep us in check and keep us in a surveillance state so they can keep
Well,
people from
okay, so
communicating.
they have two options. They could just say, "Hey, next time we won't fuck around with their democracy and we'll let elections be fair." But like you're saying, is some people will take a different approach and say we need to oppress these people even harder, obviously.
Right.
So yeah, that's the shitty thing, man, is if they just would be good politicians, they'd probably keep their position of power for longer than they realize. But they always have to take things to the next level and corrupt it. I don't know why.
Correct. Yeah, no, it's a lot of interesting points, Mr. Todd. It's well, we did it though. We stood up. We paid a very, very steep price. Some of us paid the ultimate price, and their blood is forever on the stairs of the Capitol.
Yeah.
In on American history, and and some of us like us, we suffered a lesser price, but still a steep price. And I think that most people will never experience what it feels like to not only stand up and go all in on something bigger than themselves and say, you know what, I'm going to stand up, I'm going to make a stand, and not only am I going to make a stand, I'm going to push towards the line of fire, and I'm going to be, the one that says enough's enough, and at all any means necessary, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen again. Because if not enough of us are willing to do that, then we stay slaves to a system that wants to keep us enslaved.
Yeah. And I gotta get ready for dinner, buddy. But the one thing I'll say on that last note is, yeah, man, God bless those girls and the guys who died that day. Um, but dude, I looking back, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but now I'm actually glad for all the things I went through
Oh
because,
yeah,
like we were talking earlier, we're different people now, and I'm glad I'm happy with who I am now, and I don't have as much money as I used to, and not the job I did, but hey, I can get that stuff back. You know, there was only one way for me to grow into becoming the man that I am today, and it's going through the path that we went through. So
100%, brother.
I
I
don't
love
regret it,
you.
bro.
And
You
then
too, my
we'll
man.
keep talking, man. Let's keep the conversation going. Get better soon, man.
All right, you too, my man. Thank you.
All right, take it easy. Thanks for coming on. Bye bye.
Later, buddy.